Namaste, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. So, Vivek Agnihotri is back on the podcast, and today we are going to be talking about the movie that is coming out. As you're watching this right now, the movie is going to be released. So, Vivek, congratulations and thanks for coming once again.
Thank you, thank you. It's always a delight to speak to you.
तो यार मेरे को एक बात बताओ कि you've been on a whirlwind all over the place. I saw you on Times Now, I saw you on NewsX, I saw you so many places. So how do you manage so much traveling?
See, I came back last night at 2 a.m., after almost 50 days of traveling, non-stop. We left sometime mid-August, before that, actually. And we did US, and then we did the entire India round. So this is how I market my film because we don't get mainstream entertainment section. So we just go and show it to people, get word of mouth, and get reactions, feedbacks. So just came back last night, and the first thing I've done after getting up is talking to you.
So no, this fascinates me. Now, I was assuming maybe after the grand success of Kashmir Files, at least the mainstream narrative would have changed, and they would have been like, "Listen, we can't, cannot afford to ignore Mr. Agnihotri now," but they still ignore you.
See, there are two reasons. I don't think everything is political. Okay, one reason is political. Of course, that is the driving force. The other reason is financial. Now, when things started going bad for Bollywood, so entertainment media, uh, and Bollywood, perhaps they decided that okay, you pay money to YouTubers and everybody. I think everybody is there for money. There's a huge section of entertainment media, or people who call themselves the so-called trade analysts and experts, whatever it is. Uh, and then what happened? Lots of people came and they started who were not trade experts, though who know nothing about film business. Sitting anywhere in the world, they started attacking some stars or some films and writing negative things, and they became part of the ecosystem. Now these people won't write anything about you if you don't pay them money. And so Bollywood realized, ki, okay, if you pay money, you can get anything done. So then they started paying whole lot of money. Last two, three big blockbusters, you must have noticed that people are writing about their film day and night, day and night, day and night. I mean, they are even writing every hourly advance bookings as if advance booking is some kind of race. You know, it's strange. It's very strange. Then they are publicizing their figures, box office so aggressively. I mean, I've never seen any business house or anybody. I mean, everybody does 10,000 crores of business, $2 billion of business. Nobody does buys social media and says, I've done so much of business. I've done so much of business. I mean, nobody does it. It's fine. You're successful. People know you. So what happened that they created an entire system, ecosystem or a structure where they said, okay, I will pay you huge vulgar amount of money. Next, now you write good things about me. Then came the second stage, and they said, I mean, with the recent big, huge hit, they started a new trend. They said, okay, for next 5, 6 weeks, you'll write only about me, nothing else. And you can't, it's called embargo. You can't write anything about anyone else, you know. So, I mean, films like me then obviously get embargoed. So that is the financial part of it, the scam part of it. I mean, see, somebody can say, why are you calling it corrupt? If a trade analyst is taking money, what's wrong with it? Nothing wrong with it. If a newspaper or magazine advertises that I charge so much per column centimeter or for 30 second ad I charge, I have no problems paying them money. But what they say is that no, 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 we are clean people, and what we say means something. There's a barometer. So when they say, ki, okay, this film has done 500 crore rupee, I should believe it. I will believe it if they are not taking money to write that. Okay, so the people who are writing it have no idea. People who are reading it have no idea, and they are taking advantage of this total lack of the ignorance of the people. The second is political. Now, politically motivated people. Now, they obviously, the reasons why won't they do it. So then I have no option but to go door to door, city to city, invite people from schools, colleges, universities, science institutions, Indian Institute of Science, Indian Institute of Management, whole cross section of people, and show them the film so that when they talk about it, more people talk about it. It's a slow process. but I'm left with no option. And I think it's a pretty good option because then we get chance to correct the film. We have been correcting this film with each screening, changing one thing here, one thing there. So I realized that it's a great research and trial,
So
testing,
in
sorry,
a
not trial, testing.
in a way, if I remember in the 90s when Seinfeld and many other things used to go, they used to perform to a live audience and then they would see their live responses and they would actually calibrate their responses based on how the audience reacts. So in a way, are you doing something similar? I'm asking out of curiosity.
Not something similar, not consciously. I have no idea. I know that they do, but I was in advertising, and we used to test market brands, products before launching. Like if you have to launch, say, Coca-Cola, so first you would launch it in Lucknow and Visakhapatnam, two, three smaller cities where not too much of media is present, and it's good. I think it's for me. It is enlightening and satisfying as a filmmaker because ultimately you're making the film for the audience. Okay, and you cannot make your film being scared of the audience.
Yeah.
Most of the directors and filmmakers don't show their film because they're scared of the audience, because they assume audience is dumb. They make dumb film, then they think if I go to the audience and some 5 people out of 100 say something wrong with me about my film, we'll collapse. But we have been showing it to 300, 400, 500 people, full of different cross section of audience, and we are showing it fearlessly. I mean, what I have to fear? Ultimately, I'm going to release it. So if I'm going to be scared of the audience, what's the point of making the film? And
Yeah.
with the blessings of Saraswati, we are getting very good, positive, unanimously positive response.
So now let us talk about the film itself. Now, while you have now, if I would say, since Buddha in a Traffic Jam to the next movie, Tashkent Files, to Kashmir Files, and now to Vaccine War, there is a pattern which I have observed. Now you have a pattern of, research based films where you go out, you research societal issues, you engage teams, you actually travel. I remember you telling me for Kashmir Files the amount of traveling you had to do, even for research. Forget marketing the film, even in your research you had gone all over the world to research, look at. So so what kind of a mindset does it need to make a research based film? Let's say, because see, you have a past of doing, let's say, entertainment genres also, right, where it was not much of the focus was not a historical based. I'm not saying those movies are not valuable or anything. I'm just for me, the creative aspect fascinates me, for you as a creative person. So how do you flip your brain, like when you're creating a research film, like how do you change yourself?
See, I was doing entertainment, but then you reach a stage. I mean, there comes a age when which we call you are more matured, or maybe you have got your personal meaning of life or purpose, whatever. I mean, so after you have seen it all, the glitz and the materialistic things and the fame and money and all those things, then comes a stage when you say, "What am I doing here?" So there came a stage, and I figured out that I really, really passionately, I enjoy learning about new things, in the areas. My area is socio political and spiritual. These are the three areas where I'm very fascinated with. So, so what fascinates me? These films give me a chance to seek and learn and figure out. Like I didn't know anything about bioscience. I didn't even know that this science is called virology. Until I got involved in this. I had no idea that India has a National Institute of Virology, which is like the six WHO approved labs, which is a matter of such prestige. Any other country would have gone gaga, but we don't even know that it was started by Kalam Saab. Okay, and our BSL 4 lab, which is the highest in, it's called Bio Safety Level 4. It's the highest. Ours was made in 2011, and Wuhan, which everybody knows, was made in 2017. I didn't know that we have some scientists in biosciences which are respected all over the world, like they're discipline leaders, and their papers are published in Lancet, which the world refers to. I had no clue about all these things. I didn't even know. I mean, who cares about virology, or NIV in Pune? So I learned about these things. I learned how vaccine was made. I learned that what India had to go through making the vaccine. The bureaucracy which I used to think is dead in this country, and I used to think that political leadership is always involved in opposition and those issues. I realized that no, there are some people. It may be a posture and facade to win elections, but in the background, the kind of work they do, and there are some extraordinary IS officers and people in postal department who helped so much, in the Indian vaccination. So there's so many things, Kushal. I learned Kashmir. I learned so much because of Kashmir. So much I learned because of Tashkent files. I didn't know. I had no idea about KGB and India's relationship and the Mitrokin archives and all those kind of things. Buddha in a traffic jam. I didn't know what was the nexus, exact nexus between urban and rural Maoism or Naxalism, which I learned. So I like to learn. Next film I'm doing, the Delhi Files, is though it started with a smaller idea in contemporary times, but as we started researching, it took us back, because we said, where is it coming from? So we went back. We said, where is that coming from? Went back, and it took us to 1947 Direct Action Day, and we said, aha, this is nobody talks about Direct Action Day. Even Bengalis didn't know. Young Bengalis didn't know about it. I said, this is a good thing. Let's just pick up from here and see if the Direct Action Day mindset has ended on 15th August 1947 or it continues till date. So that's what we are researching on. So it's opening up so much. I'm learning about various leaders and the freedom movement. So this is why I do it. Second thing is, it gives me a chance to be with people, the audience. And every time I go back, I realize that audience actually is smarter than filmmakers. So you have to know what they're thinking, they're understanding, and then articulate it in a science and art of filmmaking. Sorry, थोड़ा लंबा बताया, लेकिन I just wanted to explain it.
नहीं यार, ये तो पॉडकास्ट है, पॉडकास्ट में लंबा नहीं बताएंगे तो किस में बताएंगे लंबा। मगर ये बात को थोड़ा और आगे बढ़ाना है। जो ये हमारी वैक्सीन की कहानी थी, इसमें इतनी नेगेटिविटी फैलाई गई थी पहले साल। मुझे याद है जब फर्स्ट कोविड का जो ईयर था, हर समय एक नेगेटिविटी फैलाई गई थी। और मुझे याद है, मैं किसी का नाम नहीं लूंगा, मगर कुछ एक सेलिब्रिटी स्टाइल लोग थे, मैं एक का नाम नहीं ले रहा हूँ क्योंकि बहुत थे, वो बोल रहे थे जी नहीं, हमको तो फाइजर की वैक्सीन अलाउ करनी चाहिए, हमको तो सिर्फ फाइजर की वैक्सीन अलाउ करनी चाहिए। और गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया बार बार, जितना मुझे याद है, इंसिस्ट करती थी कि जब तक आप लोग इंडिया के अंदर इंडियंस के ऊपर ट्रायल नहीं करोगे, हम आपको अलाउ नहीं करेंगे। तो इसके ऊपर ये रिसर्च में क्या क्या बाहर आया था?
देखो, at some part of the research you have to see the film. It's not appropriate for me to reveal because that is the suspense of the film. But yes, one thing we understood, I understood, and I'm saying it at a personal capacity with all the research I have, that in such emergencies, when there's suppose a village is on fire or there's a flood or some panic situation or communal riots or a pandemic like this, where there is a very high chance of rumors spreading and people panicking. Okay. Normally, responsible people will not speak too much to spread rumors. If an ordinary citizen is doing, if somebody on Twitter is saying something, I don't even care. If somebody is being paid to say ki buy Pfizer, or somebody is being paid to say buy poison, okay, I am nobody to come between his business ethics and relationship with anyone. So, a common citizen, I have no problems. My problem came when I saw lots of material which was coming from people who are holding constitutional posts, who are either appointed members of parliament or they are chief ministers or ex-chief ministers. That set of people, and the second, people who call themselves fourth pillar, means watchdogs of democracy. People who ordinary citizen trust ki when they are saying something, they will bring in the truth in front of us. If they are saying there has to be some research or something behind that. I said a whole lot of very influential journalists and people from think tanks and these constitutional post holders, they were pushing not just Pfizer, they were also creating panic in the society for like the leader of the opposition. I mean, I don't know official leader or what, but then the favorite child of the opposition said that tsunami is coming, tsunami is coming. Okay, and tsunami is coming means millions of people are going to die. Why would somebody say that when there is a pandemic and the whole world is shut down and there are mass graves all over? That's a moralistic question. Nobody can stop you from saying tsunami is coming. But I think it was not appropriate at that point of time. Like, it's a war situation. In a war, how can you say, "Arey, Pakistani army has come to Delhi, Pakistani army has come to," पूरा दिल्ली छोड़ के भाग जाएगा उस वक्त पे. या बोलो बम गिरने वाला है, बम गिरने वाला है, डोंट यू थिंक दैट पीपल विल पैनिक एंड रन अवे? So they did that. Then after that, a lot of people said this vaccine is substandard. A whole lot of journalists who even call them science editors or reporters, they started saying it's a substandard vaccine. Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? Why not taking foreign vaccine? So a whole lot of questions were raised. So people started losing confidence in this vaccine. And a country which should have gone for very quick vaccination, a kind of temporary vaccine hesitancy was created. And vaccine hesitancy was created so that India succumbs to this pressure and buys foreign vaccine. I mean, this is a deduction. Okay, there's no, in black and white, nobody has written that because people are picking up my clips and running out of context. So I just want to make very, very sure I am speaking only with responsibility. Okay, so why would anybody do that in this kind of situation? Why would an ex-chief minister go and say, मैं BJP की vaccine नहीं दूंगा? Okay, and immediately after he said, when the vaccination workers went to UP in a village called Barabanki, the entire village jumped into river. They said, we won't take this vaccine because ये तो किसी और की vaccine है, it's not a real vaccine. Then people started saying this vaccine is it's not vaccine, it's water. So then they started spreading rumor that we create impotence. And you know, impotence is something you can create more panic than that you are going to die. You know, a person says it's better to die than be impotent, you know. And so, अच्छा और आप ये मत भूलिए कि किसी at certain community uh, they had this subconscious muscle memory because जो तुर्कमान गेट में नसबंदी के वक्त हुआ था सारा संजय गांधी जी ने जो किया था पकड़ पकड़ के नसबंदी कराई थी लोगों की तो वो कहीं पे एक मसल मेमोरी सोसाइटी एक कम्युनिटी में था कि अच्छा गवर्नमेंट तो ऐसा कर सकती है यू नो जस्ट दे वांट टू मेक अस इम्पोर्टेंट तो इस तरह की चीजें जब फैलाई गई और भी बहुत सारा यू नो ऑल दैट हैपेंड so what happened is the faith in our vaccine went down. Then not only that, these people also spread lots of fake articles and fake news in international media. And because of that, it's my understanding, and I've given lots of insights from experts and scientists, because of which WHO also said it's a very controversial product. Should we give it or not? And that delayed India's approval, you know, by WHO and CDC. But then India diplomatically handled it very well. There was G20. The Prime Minister went and talked about vaccine racism and vaccine apartheid and those kind of things, and things turned around, and we got the approval. So I thought that this was irresponsible, and this film should become a message so that if something like this happens in the future, the common people should be able to understand that what is the politics behind it.
अच्छा, ये एक बड़ी फैसिनेटिंग सी चीज मैंने नोट की थी कि ये जो पूरा कोविड का जो ये वैक्सीनेशन का, मैं भारत के एंगल से नहीं कह रहा, सिर्फ आई एम स्पीकिंग मोर फ्रॉम अ ग्लोबल पर्सपेक्टिव। एक मैंने अमेरिका में एक वियर्ड ट्रेंड देखा है। अमेरिका में टिल 2015-16 द लेफ्ट विंग ऑफ अमेरिका वाज एंटी वैक्स। वो लोग बड़े एंटी वैक्स होते थे, और वो भी कैलिफोर्निया, द मोस्ट प्रोग्रेसिव एरिया ऑफ अमेरिका में, द मोस्ट प्रोग्रेसिव जोन में वो लोग एंटी वैक्स थे। They have some absurd conspiracy theories against the vaccine. Post that, when Biden got into power, अच्छा ये patterns जो आपने अभी बताया है ना, I remember very clearly when Trump was the president, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden were like, we don't trust the vaccine. These same people, when Trump lost, they came in with the Pfizer and other vaccine. They said, now we trust it, Moderna and Pfizer. So I don't understand, like, you know, it is not unique to India, this politicization. And then the American right wing became super anti-vax. I mean, I don't understand this. In India, I was looking at the numbers, and anti-vax में ironically, हाँ, पता नहीं, if I don't know if you know about it, केरला में 2 डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स हैं जो सबसे एंटी वैक्सीन हिस्टोरिकली। केरला में जो सबसे ज्यादा लिटरेट स्टेट है इंडिया की। बाकी ओवरऑल इंडिया इज एक्चुअली नॉट वेरी एंटी वैक्स, इंडिया इज वेरी प्रो वैक्सीन। इंडिया में हाँ सुई ठोक दो हमको काइंड ऑफ एटीट्यूड है कि हमको सुई से कुछ प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। बट did you try to have you tried to look into those aspects also of the global patterns, and do they affect India also?
What happened when COVID came? coronavirus leaked or not leaked, I don't know. Almost most of the scientific community in the world, especially in America, they were saying, they were convinced that it's a lab leak from Wuhan, China, right? How do ordinary people know about it? Because scientists were saying it, so it got credibility, and a lot of people were talking about it, and everybody thought, and everybody was convinced that it's coming from China. Then there's a cutoff date. Then one day suddenly Donald Trump stands up and he says it's a China virus, it's a Kung Fu virus, this and that, and he appropriated that narrative. The day he said that, after that, there was a total embargo and silence. Then they started saying no, we should not say anything, and then they stopped saying that it's come from Wuhan or China. And then the shift took place. If Trump had said that vaccines are good, they would have said vaccines are bad. If he said vaccines are bad, so they said vaccines are good. And today in America, the people who are not taking vaccines are mostly Trump followers and right wing or far right or whatever you call them. So this is all politics, you know. Same thing in India. If the Prime Minister of India says कि भाई वैक्सीन लगाना चाहिए तो ये कहेंगे नहीं लगाना चाहिए, वो कहते नहीं लगाना चाहिए तो कहेंगे लगाना चाहिए, सीधी सी बात है. So that was the whole game. See, in India it was very like America, because elections were coming immediately. In India, beyond any doubt, this was whole thing. People forgot pandemic and they wanted to use pandemic to show down this government. They thought this is a great opportunity. India has very poor health index and infrastructure, and more and more people going to die. And they started spreading fake research reports from Johns Hopkins and Princeton, which they refused. They said no, we never wrote it. And then they created panic in order to. Actually, they were wishing that more people die. Okay, I'm not saying this is again not fact. This is my understanding. Because when you read lots of secondary material in research, you deduce. And if it's not that I should not deduce or come to some kind of understanding or observation. This is my observation, that a lot of people were thinking, what if so many people die, then this government has to go. And तैयारी उसकी थी और narrative बनाए भी गए उसको लेके. This is what I think. So Donald Trump in America and Narendra Modi in India, these two things. If you remember when Modi wore the mask, वो गमछा, a lot of people started saying कि mask क्यों पहनना चाहिए, तो जबरदस्ती promote कर रहे हैं इंडिया में. We have reports like that, and they were very eminent journalists.
Yeah, it just fascinates me how polarized the discourse has become, that even something as matlab you know r- reasonable as a vaccination program has also been politicized in this world. But I wanted to ask you another question about, from a casting perspective. So can you share any story about why Nana Patekar? I mean, I'm a Nana Patekar fan, so I wanted to know.
My answer is my, my answer is why not Nana Patekar. Okay, I don't care what he does in his personal life, what happens. I wanted somebody who, in the end, when he says India can do it, the everybody, irrespective of Indian or non-Indian, everybody should believe that the man who's saying it has conviction about it. I didn't want anybody to come and speak it as a dialogue. That was the criteria. That was the main thing. The whole thing started backwards in the climax when he says India can do it. Then people should believe, the younger audience should say, yes, I believe this man, India can do it. That kind of confidence in the line can come only when somebody is a crazy actor, you know, who becomes that person. And to become somebody else means shedding your own personality and adopting somebody else for that time. It's very difficult. Balraj Sani and these people used to do it. Naseeb Bhai has done it in initial career, initially. A lot of some good actors do that. But most of the actors, what they do, they try to become the character by growing their mustache or cutting their mustache or putting on weight or losing. They go into physical attributes. Here is an actor who doesn't even care about physical attributes, who says कि भाई मेरे को कोई और पर्सनालिटी में ला रहा हूँ तो उसके सुख दुख क्या है. नाना के ही कोट बता रहा हूँ मुझसे, उसने भाई उसके सुख दुख क्या है वो मुझे जानना पड़ेगा. मैं अपने सुख दुख से तो उसके सुख दुख को नहीं बता सकता. You know, in a Marathi way, he says all every time. So, जब मैं गया भी था तो नाना said कि why me? I said why not you? He said अगर मैं नहीं करूंगा तो कौन करेगा? मैंने कहा कोई नहीं करेगा. He said why? मैंने कहा इसमें एक ऐसी लाइन है जो मुझे लगता है कि तू बोलेगा तो ही अच्छी लगेगी. क्या लाइन है? मैंने कहा इंडिया कैन डू इट. उसने ही थॉट अप फॉर सम टाइम, ही सेड चलो करते हैं, यू नो, बिकॉज ही बिलीव्ड इन इट. उसको खुद उसका अच्छा कोइंसिडेंटली ऐसा हो गया कि कई बार आप अच्छा काम करने निकलो तो कोइंसिडेंटली हो जाता. At that point of time, because he was stuck in COVID in his village and he does a lot of social work and stuff like that. So he traveled a lot to do social work. And he also believed that India has done a great job and India can do it. तो नाना का भी उस वक्त में कुछ पॉलिटिकल तो नहीं कहूंगा अंडरस्टैंडिंग अबाउट इंडिया वाज ही. एंड ही वाज वेरी फ्रस्ट्रेटेड दैट व्हाई people are always criticizing and looking only at the fault lines and not appreciating and celebrating when it's a great thing. He said in few interviews also yesterday कि I have nothing to do with politics, but if Modi has done good job, then उसमें गलत क्या है उसकी तारीफ करने में. He was asking journalists कि भाई तुम मुझे वो कहते हैं आप मोदी को सपोर्ट कर रहे हो क्या, तो उसने कहा तो अच्छा काम किया तो गलत क्या है, अगर मेरी जान किसी ने बचा ली तो उसकी तारीफ करने में प्रॉब्लम क्या है. तो he said if India has done something so great, then why, what's wrong in. तो कहीं पे his conviction and my conviction matched. And that's how this journey started. And he never met Dr. Balram Bhargav. He said, otherwise I'll start mimicking him and it will become caricature. तो मुझे उसका soul बता. And he picked up the soul to such an extent. I mean, this one role is going to be iconic. ये बहुत सालों तक मास्टर क्लास की तरह पढ़ाया जाएगा ये एक्टिंग जो नाना ने इसमें की है, because his author back role is throughout omnipresent in the film. जब डॉक्टर बलराम भार्गव saw the film, he had tears in his eyes. नाना का हाथ पकड़ो, कहने लगे ये तो मुझे पहचान ही नहीं पाया कि ये आप हो या मैं हूं, you know. So, and not only Nana, every single actor became those scientists because we are using real names, we are using real family, children, incidents, clothes, everything, their cars also, the cars they drive, everything is real in this film. That's why it's called a true story. So Pallavi ka dekhne baad Dr. Priya Abraham started crying and she said, how did Pallavi, I never told these things to anyone. How did you know things which I never told anyone? My emotions, my feelings, my frustrations, how I felt at that time. So I think this happened because people believed in it. See, kya hai na, faith moves mountains. Sometimes when you believe in art, I am telling you, Dali, I mean, it was his belief that he put those mustache and he would put honey and the bees would come and sit on, or flies, I don't know what, would come and it was believed that the world said okay, you know. तो मुझे लगता है ये सारे एक्टर्स ना सोल पकड़ लिया, दे गॉट द सोल. और वो इसलिए हुआ कि हम सब, मैं, मेरी टीम, मेरे रिसर्चर्स, कुछ तो यंग थे, एक लड़का तो बेचारा 19-20 साल का, उसको तो ये दुनिया ही नहीं पता कुछ, पर उसने जब उससे बस ये बोला कि भाई तू किताबें पढ़ता रहे और ये चीजें हमें निकाल के देता रहो, पढ़ते पढ़ते 4-5 बुक के बाद वो कहता है ओ माय गॉड, आई डिडंट नो दैट आवर कंट्री इज सो ग्रेट. Because when he started seeing that pregnant women are crossing rivers to do vaccination, when the women are climbing 3-4 hours in Ladakh and Manipur and all, you know, like that, putting vaccination gear and climbing up to go to a village जहाँ से 10 फैमिली रहती हैं. He said ये तो कहीं होता नहीं है. उसने अपने कजिन्स वगैरह से सुना होगा अमेरिका वगैरह में कुछ. तो I think it's a collective faith which makes this film so genuine and real.
But if you don't mind me asking, then why did you call it a war? What is the war aspect then?
Very good question. Not many people have asked me. So yeah, I called it. I could have called the vaccine fire also. Okay, but there was a war. It's pandemic. Didn't you hear words like bio war? And there was kind of info war was going on at that time, you know, and a lot of baseless fake news were planted. And the film also is based, I mean, the info war side of the film is based on one Indian Telangana court judgment where they asked certain journalists and their website to pull down 14 fake articles. And not just fake articles, but they restrained them for writing on Indian vaccine ever. And these people did not protest in public like they always do for everything, free speech and all that. They didn't even say that government is after us, that's why this judgment has come. They just tried to hush hush उसको दबा दो, बस दबा दो, खबर ना लगे किसी को. और लगी भी नहीं लोगों को खबर, अब लगने लगी है थोड़ा सा मेरी फिल्म के कारण. So that info war was taking place, and the pharma lobbies, arm twisting and blackmailing Indian government that accept our terms, and you know how much lobbying took place at that time. It was a war. Okay, from and war was not only from one side. It was monkeys. China just few days before this news of unknown pneumonia became official just before that. So timely, so coincidentally, they stopped the export of monkeys, which are required for trials. So all these kind of things were happening at that time. International politics, geopolitics. Everybody wanted to capture India's ventilator market, India's mask market, India's PPE market, India's vaccine market. And when you have such a big, huge market, and if you get permission to do it, you also can dominate the government and influence policies. And that is the whole intention with the arms lobby and the pharma lobby. That's what they do, because there are very few people who manufacture these things. So I think Indian government की तारीफ तो करनी पड़ेगी. And when I say government, it doesn't necessarily mean only Mr. Modi. Of course, he was the leader, but it also means whole lot of people in the bureaucracy, mid bureaucracy, low bureaucracy, the medical sector, the PPE manufacturing sector, the lab nurses. I think the whole country rose up to the occasion, and together we fought this pandemic. Imagine if there was no consolidated, efficient, very productive, systematic structure to what we did, right? We would have collapsed. And who created that structure? Obviously, the top leadership. They did it.
नहीं, ये तो मैं मानता हूँ। पीपीई की तो स्टोरी मुझे याद है, क्योंकि तभी मेरी फैक्ट्री और सब फैक्ट्रियां बंद थी, और पीपीई तो सिर्फ चाइना से आता था। एंड आई क्लियरली रिमेंबर स्मृति ईरानी वाज एट दैट टाइम द पार्ट ऑफ द मिनिस्ट्री, एंड शी वाज गिवन द टास्क ऑफ खड़ा करो अभी पीपीई मैन्युफैक्चरिंग प्लांट्स, एंड विद इन मंथ्स हम लोग from manufacturing for ourselves, we became the global leaders in PPE manufacturing then. And but let's focus on this war aspect even more. ये जो कुछ देशों ने घटिया काम किए हैं होर्डिंग के, बहुत ही घटिया काम किए हैं होर्डिंग के, इसके इसके बारे में मतलब एक 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 see, I understand countries wanting to give vaccine to their people first. I understand that aspect. वो ठीक है, वो एक बार समझ में आ जाता है। मगर हर आदमी इंडिया जैसा नहीं होता है जिसने कितनी वैक्सीन बाहर भी बांटी, भारत में कितने देशों का ध्यान रखा, ये लोगों को एहसास नहीं है। ये सब चीजें, दिस इज द स्टोरी ऑफ इंडिया। और इनफैक्ट वैक्सीन डिप्लोमेसी वाज वन ऑफ इंडिया सक्सेसेस। इफ यू आस्क मी पर्सनली, लास्ट 3 साल की सक्सेस वैक्सीन डिप्लोमेसी थी। बट ये जो गंदा रोल प्ले किया है कुछ देशों ने, जो आपको ब्लैकमेल करना, आपको, और उसके बाद अंडरग्राउंड रैकेट्स, लाइक मैं एक साइड की बात करता हूँ, ये कोई रियल स्टोरी नहीं है, मगर लॉ एंड ऑर्डर एक सीरीज आती है, उसमें क्रिमिनल इंटेंट में पूरा बैकग्राउंड इज ऑल अबाउट कोविड प्रॉफिटेरिंग। बोल, पूरी कोविड प्रॉफिटेरिंग के ऊपर है वो लोग।
सही बात बिल्कुल। देखो क्या है, ये पूरा जियो पॉलिटिक्स है कुशल, यू नो दैट, ओके। सब पावर का गेम है ये। अगर अगर मान लिया जाए कि 5,000 साल से ये दुनिया है और इंसान है, तो हम पहले स्टोन एज में रहते होंगे केव्स के अंदर, तो पत्थर मारते होंगे एक दूसरे को पावर लेने के लिए, कोई किसी के बच्चों को उठा ले जाता। तो ये सारा जो गेम है ना, ये पावर का है। जियोपॉलिटिकली एवरी कंट्री इज, जो ट्रीटीज एंड दोस्ती और शेक हैंड्स इज फाइन, but in the background every country is trying to establish their supremacy. And आज की तारीख में supremacy is coming from basically information technology, artificial intelligence, biotechnology and arms basically. And there is a lot of emphasis on bioscience, biotechnology, because this is the future of the world, they believe. और उसमें दे वांट टू डोमिनेट द वर्ल्ड। तो क्या होता है, बेचारे जो छोटे राष्ट्र होते हैं, वो उन्हें पता ही नहीं चलता, वो रेस में इतने पीछे, उनको पता ही नहीं आगे वाला क्या प्लान कर रहा है। तो वो इंडिया का 70 साल क्या हुआ, आप देखो सारी वैक्सीन दे केम टू अस 20 years later, 22 years later। हम निगोशिएट ही करते रहे उनके टर्म्स को मानने के लिए, फिर अल्टीमेटली वी कॉम्प्रोमाइज्ड एंड वी एम डूइंग इट। तो ये जो होर्डिंग का पूरा ये था टू क्रिएट, आई मीन अगेन आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि ऐसा कोई ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट में मैं पढ़ के बता रहा हूँ, दीज आर ओपिनियंस, व्यूज, पर जहां एक्सपर्ट व्यूज ज्यादा टिल्टेड है मैं वो बात करना चाहता हूँ। ऐसा माना जाता है कि लॉट ऑफ होर्डिंग वाज डन so that there is a demand increases in lots of other places. पर उस वक्त में एक्चुअली कंट्रीज को, स्पेशली नेशंस लाइक यूएस, शुड हैव बिहेव लाइक अ ग्लोबल लीडर एंड शुड हैव हेल्प लॉट्स ऑफ अदर कंट्रीज, भले ही किसी भी तरह से। पर वो हुआ नहीं। इंडिया के भी, इफ यू रिमेंबर, रिसोर्सेज रोक दिए थे लास्ट मिनट पे। आई थिंक इट वाज ऑन 2nd January or 1st January, कुछ ऐसा exact date नहीं, पर उसी first 4 days of January, I remember. And then Jai Shankar got into the act, and then Mr. Modi's office got into the act, and I think Mr. Modi called Biden and spoke to him, and then within no time they released resources. So because India is also not so weak as it used to be. India is a powerful country, and Mr. Modi has one good thing that he talks himself. You know, he cuts all the middlemen and a lot of bureaucratic and diplomatic processes. Same thing he did when WHO did not give us the. Then he made a speech in G20, and then he spoke to all these people directly, and then next day we got it. So, which is a good thing, cutting out the middleman, cutting out the some unproductive, inefficient processes, and directly going into proactive mode. I think which is a good thing. I mean, for that you can't criticize the prime minister. So, but yes, hoarding took place. Another case of hoarding we found was oxygen hoarding during second wave, and that really hurt me. You know, that was very sad. A lot of people started hoarding, and uh, then they started saying on social media कि आपको ऑक्सीजन चाहिए हमसे ले लो, and they pretended as if they were social workers. Now the question is, when there is such acute shortage of oxygen in some place, how can anybody give it in as a charity, which means they have lots of oxygen bottles with them, and where are they getting it from, who's giving them, how are they managing it? उस पैनिक सिचुएशन में, उस हड़बड़ी में nobody investigated. But आज जब हम आराम से बैठ के सारा, when we put a thread to all these points together, one can easily understand कि yes, huge hoarding took place, and that's why a lot of artificial shortage was also created.
Yeah, that is, I think, one of the most unforgivable aspects. I still remember the second wave, and that's when the oxygen shortage had happened. I mean, there are some things that are just unforgivable, and I could not agree more with you. Like, what people did during the second wave was unforgivable. But maybe, uh you know humanity shows their best and worst during calamities, and some people are just creatures of habit, I should say. But overall, I was also in awe of the human spirit. Like, people running around finding beds, मेरे को आज तक याद है, calling people helter skelter, कैसे भी करके लोगों के लिए beds organize करने. And especially our medical community, I would like to, not just the scientific community, but I would like you to talk about our medical community. यार, वो लोग ने तो literally अपनी जान दांव पे लगाई.
बिल्कुल, सी आई टेल यू, हमारे पास एक बहुत डिफिकल्ट सिचुएशन ही हो गई थी. When you speak about COVID, there are so many agencies, so many communities, groups, departments. Everybody played such great role. What about those women, who were pregnant and they were crossing a river which was like flooded till here and going and giving vaccination? You must have seen photos जब बच्चे को पीछे ऐसे लाद के टोकरी में, वो क्या बोलते हैं, that basket, in that basket putting a child, a young child, एक 9-10 महीने का, उसको लेके जा रहे हैं. What about those videos and pictures I have seen where in Registan, in desert, in 48 degrees temperature, they were just walking like 100 kilometers to reach one remote village on the border of India. Then there are stories like where in Northeast they couldn't go to some villages. It was impossible to reach there. They used drones, to send it there. और एक जगह पे तो ऐसा हो गया था कि ड्रोन उन्होंने डाला तो टेररिस्ट लोगों ने पकड़ लिया ड्रोन, थिंकिंग दैट इंडिया हैज सेंट सम काइंड ऑफ एयर जेट और सम प्लेन टू किल देम. बट व्हेन दे सॉ उसमें लिखा था वैक्सीन्स कोविड ये वो, सो दे अंडरस्टूड. तो फिर उन्हीं लोगों को वो लेके आए, दे फैसिलिटेट देम, देन दे ब्रॉट देम, दे सेड अच्छा हमें भी लगाओ सबसे पहले वैक्सीन. सो देयर आर फनी स्टोरीज, गुड, बट डॉक्टर्स एंड ऑल. So point, as a filmmaker now I am talking. See, filmmaking cannot be about everything. अब समझो, if you are making a film on war, so you cannot cover the entire 500 kilometers of the border and every soldier who did something. Or 9/11, if you're making a film, you cannot go to each floor. You have to pick up one floor, one family, one people, so that with the help of few characters in a very focused way, you can narrate a larger story and people understand the point. You know, if in Three Idiots they have to show that yes, the education system is faulty, they don't have to go to every school and college and cover it. They just take three students and they show give the message. Now here the messaging was about how Indian science helped the society. It wasn't about medical sector. It wasn't about frontline worker. So we focused only on science, about the aspects which people don't know. If I had made a film where I say, "Arey, doctors did great job," people know it. If I say frontline workers did great job, people know it. You have seen it. But we collaborated with Indian Institute of Management, and we figured out that majority means huge 80-90% people don't even know who made this vaccine. And obviously Bharat Biotech played a great extraordinary role in it. But then the whole vaccine candidate isolation, everything from which the vaccine was manufactured and distributed, took place in ICMR and NIV. Nobody knows that ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, is one of the oldest vaccine research agencies in the world and most respected. It happens to be in India. British लोगों ने उसको establish किया था. National Institute of Virology. Nobody knows about it. All these things. So we thought it's a great thing. And out of these bunch of scientists who, when everybody was saying India can't do it, and they said India can do it, most of them were women. And women also, I mean, if you politically speaking or socially speaking, more Indic women empowerment वाली women, जिनको की modern Western style feminism मानते ही नहीं है कि empowered है, क्योंकि वो घर का भी काम करती हैं, थोड़ा पति पति की सेवा कर लेती हैं, दे आर नॉट एंटी पेट्रियार्की टाइप्स, तो इसलिए उनको थोड़ा आइसोलेट भी किया गया है सोसाइटी से. दैट्स द रीजन. जब आप वो इसरो की फोटो देखते हैं, सो मेनी इंडियन पीपल से, अरे ये क्या हो गया, यू नो हमने तो सोचा था साइंटिस्ट आर गोइंग टू बी डिफरेंट. तो उनको समझ में नहीं आता कि साड़ी पहन के वो औरत बिंदी लगा के और पीपी किट पहन के शी इज इनसाइड द लैब इन द मोस्ट मॉडर्न लैब ऑफ द वर्ल्ड, BSL-4. एंड वही साड़ी पहन के बिंदी लगा के शी इज गोइंग टू big science conferences and giving some extraordinary lectures. So that fascinated me. So we focused only on the science and scientists. Film has nothing to do with politics or the government or the leadership or the doctors or this thing. Film is not about COVID. For us, it's a victory film. In a war situation, how Indian science won us this war, this is what the film is all about.
I'm actually very glad that you have done that. So let me ask you this question. Why do you think India does not have such films where we celebrate science and scientists? We celebrate our religious leaders and gurus. We don't celebrate scientists with the same rigor. Why do you think that happens?
See, it's like a, it's like a child, He eats healthy food, he eats apple, and he runs and he swims and all that. Slowly, then you say, "अरे कहाँ apple खाते हो? इसको थोड़ा burger खिलाओ, फिर fries खिलाओ." धीरे धीरे उसको junk food में ले जाओ. He becomes lazy, he stops running, he stops swimming. Then he's just lying down and watching Netflix or something like that. And then suddenly somebody questions, अरे ये बच्चा एप्पल क्यों नहीं खाता है, ये बच्चा स्विमिंग क्यों नहीं करता है, ये बच्चा दौड़ता क्यों नहीं. इंडियन ऑडियंस के साथ भी कुछ ऐसे ही हुआ. Somewhere I think in last 20-25 years, because these new kids came and took over business from their parents were from villages and they knew India. These new kids came and they had no clue about the common man of India. तो उन्होंने फिल्मों से common man को निकाल दिया. और जब कॉमन मैन को निकालते हैं, द इमीडिएट रिजल्ट इज दैट योर फिल्म स्टार्ट बिकमिंग डम बिकॉज दे आर नॉट कनेक्टेड विद द सोसाइटी. And then these stars who had no clue about the society, they said, let's dumb the movie, dumb the movie, dumb. तो एक myth सी बन गई कि audience is dumb, they don't understand anything, and therefore just make your films dumb. That's why nobody made. But Madhavan made Rocketry, and that gave me a lot of confidence also. Okay, he made Rocketry. Rocketry was pure science, technical terms. In fact, anybody would say very boring. But slowly it worked. It did pretty good business. I mean, 50 crore rupee business is no joke for a film like Rocketry. That gave me little confidence. But उसके पहले तक ये था कि साइंस की तो फिल्म बनानी ही नहीं है, क्योंकि इंडिया में साइंस कौन जानता है, कौन देखेगा, यूथ क्यों दे. और मेरा ये था कि बिकॉज पीपल डू नॉट स्टडी साइंस इन स्कूल्स कॉलेजेस, या ज्यादा समझते नहीं है, दैट्स व्हाई they'll say कि अच्छा जो साइंस हम कॉलेज में मेहनत करके नहीं पढ़ना चाहते, इट्स इजीली टोल्ड टू मी इन अ स्टोरी फॉर्म. Therefore, I had this belief in this film. And also the name, the vaccine war, everybody said don't use the word vaccine because it sounds very clinical. COVID की याद आती है, कौन याद करना चाहता है इन सब चीजों के बारे में. But somewhere we had faith in the audience and I said नहीं यार, मैं हमेशा कहता हूँ, अभी तक मैं कह रहा था, मैंने कहा अच्छा चलो 80% ऑडियंस नहीं होगी. Okay, एक suppose on a Friday there are 100 people who want to watch a film. पर 20 लोग तो ऐसे होंगे जो जानना चाहते होंगे भाई वैक्सीन कैसे बनी. तो उनके लिए क्या फिल्म ही नहीं बनाए कोई, उनको इग्नोर ही कर दे कि अच्छा ये तो क्या मूर्ख है, ये कुछ जानते नहीं है, जस्ट इग्नोर दैम, you know. So, and also third thing I realized that there are so many podcasts on COVID and vaccines and all with huge viewership in India, which means that somewhere people have curiosity to know what affected my life, why I was thinking only about death in March 2020, and what happened in 7, 9 months that suddenly I forgot about death once the vaccine came. So I thought it's a great story to tell. The reason we don't make science film because we believe that audience is dumb. That is the main reason.
That is fascinating because even if I study the content landscape on COVID, yes, I have personally covered many COVID related books. आशीष की है, प्रियम गांधी मोदी की मैंने बुक कवर की थी कोविड के ऊपर। I've covered multiple books on COVID. Yes, you are right. There are podcasts on COVID, and honestly, I was very surprised people are not doing a movie on COVID. So, first of all, I would like to congratulate you and commend you on taking this bold step of making a movie on COVID. But one more follow up question to this: do you think now people will take inspiration and cue and maybe शायद वो एक रिस्क टेकिंग एबिलिटी अभी पैदा हो जाए और हम और करें अभी?
मेरी तो यही इच्छा है. आई वॉन्ट पीपल टू मेक एंड वाई साइंस मेक ऑन कॉम्प्लेक्स सब्जेक्ट्स, यू नो. जैसे जैसे मरीन इंजीनियरिंग है, उसमें इंडिया हैज एक्चुअली डन वेरी गुड वर्क. हमारे कहीं पीछे चलता रहता है काम. मेरे घर के सामने फिशरीज इंस्टीट्यूट है. ओके, और मैं उनसे मिलता रहता हूँ, दे इनवाइट मी. कई बार मैं जानता हूँ उन लोगों को. तो मैं पहले ये कहता था, अरे ये फिशरीज के लिए इतना बड़ा, इतना ह्यूज प्लेस क्यों बनाई हुई है. देन आई रियलाइज कि फिशरीज का मतलब ये नहीं कि फिश पकड़ के हम जो खाते हैं सिर्फ उतना ही नहीं है. ओके, इट्स मच मोर देन दैट. So there are so many fields of science which get ignored in front of more glamorized science like rocket science and information technologies. के आगे लोग ज्यादा सोचते नहीं हैं. Okay, but there are lots of science disciplines of science which are the future of the world, and I hope people do that. More than that, I think even if say Kushal, look at it like this: we could have made Kashmir Files Part 2 and made lots of money, and we have put in whatever money we earned, we put into this money. Imagine, even if 12, 1 dozen young kids, and especially from the lower section of the society, suppose your maid's kids, if they decide to become scientists after seeing this film, okay, so that will be the success of the film. If it is being able to influence. मुझे याद है जैसे दंगल एक फिल्म आई थी, उसके पहले बहुत पहले मैं ट्रैवल कर रहा था, तो मध्य प्रदेश की एक लड़की मेरे साथ ट्रैवल कर रही थी. तो मैंने, तुम क्या करती हो? तो उसने बड़े उससे ऐसे ही, वो थोड़ा विद ड्रूपिंग शोल्डर, शी सेड, सर मैं कुश्ती कुश्ती करती हूँ. तो मैंने कहा अच्छा क्या, तो क्या हुआ? नहीं नहीं, क्या है यानी, हम लोगों को ज्यादा इंडिया में बोलो तो उनको लगता है जैसे पता नहीं लड़कियां कैसे कुश्ती करती होंगी, समथिंग लाइक दैट. शी वाजंट वेरी. now, after Dangal, what happened? I don't know how many girls became wrestlers after that. But जो wrestlers थी, वो अब सीधा कंधे करके बात करती हैं. Their body language has changed. They found a new confidence. And the whole country got to know कि अरे भाई ये भी एक स्पोर्ट्स की फील्ड है, सिर्फ क्रिकेट नहीं है. Heroes can be here also. You know. तो ये जो हमने पूरा जो हीरोइज्म है पूरा बॉलीवुड को और क्रिकेट को सब कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कर दिया है, right? उससे निकल के you will also realize that heroes are in various fields, and these people who saved your lives are also heroes, and that's why for the communications, as a communication strategy, I everywhere say that this is India's first genuine authentic superhero film because they saved your life.
That's actually a beautiful way of putting it. Before I let you go, Vivek, tell me the one probably or the top two most memorable things that you can recall in the entire creative process of this film.
Okay, so one thing which really fascinated me, जनरली वो फिल्मों में दिखा देते हैं ये साइंटिस्ट पूजा करता है, ये करता है, and all those kind of things. But I refrained myself from that because it would have been then कि अच्छा on the face वो करे. What fascinated me कि जो जैसे मंकी है जिसकी जिस पे ये लोग ने ट्रायल किए, यू नो, एंड समटाइम्स मंकीज डाई. तो वो जो लेके आता है बंदा, वो पहले मंकी की प्रार्थना करता है, पूजा करता है, नहीं थैंक्स द मंकी की, अरे भाई यू आर कमिंग टू आवर हेल्प एंड यू आर सेविंग अस, एंड आई डोंट नो हाउ. मैं ये, अब हिंदुस्तान में तो तुम जाते हो पितृपक्ष आने वाला है, तो सब इंडिया में तो अलग तरह का पूरा सिस्टम है. तो वो कहता है कि अच्छा मेरा ये ऋण कभी चुका दूंगा आपका ये वो things like that. Even the hamsters and all they do, it's not that कोई पूजा करता है. I mean, don't take it religiously, please, for God's sake. I don't want it to get corrupted in today's stupid narratives, you know. What I'm saying is, this entire faith in ecology and the environment, कि भाई ठीक है हम एक्सपेरिमेंट कर रहे हैं हैमस्टर में, it doesn't mean it's an inferior species. Okay, to believe that hamster actually is a superior species because it is helping the mankind to survive, this thought process, it's very difficult to explain in the West. It's not something that there are books, but that is what I realize is the core essence of what they are doing, you know, and I really liked that very much. Second thing was their personal sacrifice of these women. किसी की बच्ची की आई का प्रॉब्लम था, ट्यूमर हो गया, हाफ ब्लाइंडनेस हो गई, they couldn't operate. This जो एक पर्सनल से आप see the movie and why people are crying. People are crying because of human excellence. In this, every 5 minutes people cry not because उसमें कोई झंडा लेके कह रहा है मेरा भारत महान, या कोई सेंचुरी मार दी 10-25 बॉल में विराट कोहली. Nothing of that sort. Ordinary people doing ordinary things which eventually give you extraordinary results. You know, and those ordinary things which you think are ordinary has so much of sacrifice behind it. तो मुझे ऐसा लगा ये जो sacrifice है, it's the most difficult human trait to possess. Nobody, लोग तो यार अपनी एक चवन्नी नहीं दे सकते, जहाँ सोते हैं वो जगह नहीं दे सकते कि ये मेरी कुर्सी है. डाइनिंग टेबल में अगर कभी देखो लोग कहते हैं मेरी कुर्सी है. आदमी अपना स्टेटस, अपना पैसा, अपनी इज्जत, कोई चीज शेयर नहीं करना चाहता है. उसमें Indian women somehow, and I'm not into comparison, I want to say a very independent thought. Indian mothers, especially, or Indian women, your bhabhi, your sister, because of the social structure, have been taught to sacrifice a lot. But that sacrifice is becoming such a great asset because they are being able to stay sacrificing their personal happiness, their personal comfort, their personal needs for 20-22 hours in a lab where men couldn't. You know, एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल बताता हूँ. ईरान में मास ग्रेव्स बन गई. 1200 शिया मुस्लिम्स कारगिल से कौम गए थे. कौम इज लाइक मक्का. मक्का जैसे सुन्नी लोगों का हज है, ऐसे ही शिया लोगों का हज है कौम इन ईरान. Iran doesn't believe in labs. People are dying. These people were stuck along with other Indians. 6,000 के करीब इंडियन पॉपुलेशन थी. उनको कैसे लेके आए? Because there was no lab and they won't allow you to establish lab. Okay, so Prime Minister then asked, PMO asked the scientists to go there and establish lab. A whole lot of men refused to go. They said, we won't go to the war zone. You know who said we will go? Women. A pregnant woman is saying, scientists saying, I'll go. All the women are saying, we'll go. Eventually, then the men were forced to go. So now these kind of sacrifices and resilience and एक eagerness, एक self-built mechanism to help people. You know, ये जो emotion और dedication है, ये मैं देखता हूँ generally इंडिया में पाया जाता है ज्यादा. पर मुझे सारी फीमेल साइंटिस्ट की एक शिकायत भी थी. उन्होंने कहा कि हमें जनरली इन मेन स्ट्रीम नैरेटिव पीपल थिंक वी आर नॉट एम्पावर्ड, वी गेट लॉस्ट इन द क्राउड. क्योंकि हम सब्जी खरीद के जाके घर में खाना बना देते हैं, रोटियां बेलते हैं, पहले अपने बच्चों को पति को खिला देते हैं, फिर हम खाते हैं, फिर हम ऑफिस का भी काम करते हैं रात को बैठ के, देन वी टाइप पेपर्स विच गो टू लैंसेट. Nobody sees all these things. All people sees is our appearance. So I thought it's going to be a good tribute. And that's why you see all very Indian ethos में जो महिलाएं हैं, they are crying and their children are crying seeing the sacrifice of their mother without even showing any sacrifice. So at that level, this has been a very satisfying effort. And these two insights, even I didn't know that. I used to use Indic feminism more as a narrative jargon and had a very intellectual understanding of this. But when I worked with these people for 2 years, I realized that it's a great quality of Indian women. And that's why you see in rocket science, in this, we are अगर excellence है, तो it's because of the women.
Vivek, I think this is perfect. I couldn't have wished
Sorry,
for a
एक चीज
better
और, एक चीज और.
narration. Sure.
One, कुशल, one more thing. Last. ये जो सब कह रहे हैं ना कि इतना सस्ता चंद्रायन बना देते हैं, हमारी वैक्सीन इतनी सस्ते में कैसे हम निपट गए, इट्स बिकॉज ऑफ विमेन. बिकॉज इंडियन विमेन नो अब क्या एक चवन्नी कैसे बचाना है, अपने monthly budget में. So they know how to save cost. They don't waste money at all.
Yeah, actually, yeah, you can true the true frugal spirit of India is inspired by Indian women, but Vivek, I'm really glad that you have experimented with this film because for me science matters a lot. I truly believe in promotion of scientific temper, not the one which is written in our constitution and stuff like that, but in real scientific temper. Um, and I'm glad you have done this. It's a bold move. It's a very bold experiment that you have done. So first of all, once again, want to congratulate you on this, and I thank you for coming to speak with me, and I wish you nothing but success.
Thank you very much. And इसीलिए मैं लास्ट में एक बात बताना भूल गया था. This is a good medium. कि because of their belief in environment and the universe and the cosmos, and the belief that we are not responsible for running this cosmos, we are just servant to this cosmos. I went back and I discovered a wonderful thing called Nasriya soup from Rigved, which is basically all the possibilities how universe was created and our relationship with the universe, and I've used it very beautifully in the film. सृष्टि से पहले सत नहीं था. We performed it at Times Square also. So when you see the film, you'll find it very satisfying, and it's not used in religious or spiritual terms. It used purely from the scientific point of view in the film.
Great, great, Vivek. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Kushal. Thanks.
All right, guys, we'll wrap it up. So don't forget to go and watch the movie. मैं इधर अमेरिका में देखने वाला हूँ पिक्चर. उधर जाके तुम लोग भी देखना. इंडिया में जिधर भी हो, please go and watch the movie. Please support Vivek, and all the links will be in the description section of the podcast. And keep supporting the Cārvāka podcast too. This is a member-only driven podcast. I try my best. I try my best to ask questions that I hope nobody else asks. So keep supporting the podcast, whether the audio version or this one on YouTube. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, namaste. Take care. Bye.